Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And happy to be here and always appreciate you reaching out to me and giving us this opportunity as well. Thanks to everybody who's joining and participating. Appreciate your time. I know everybody's busy, and especially this time of year, Q4, lots going on in our space. So again, appreciate your time, and hopefully we can, add a little value. So yeah, Elemerce, we're an e-commerce marketing agency. We do a lot of things from Amazon to Walmart.com to Google and Meta and TikTok, um, and so content is at the forefront of our minds, messaging and really connecting with our audiences. And so this is a conversation that's been ongoing. It's really started 10 years ago or so, or more, with changes in Google, et cetera, and people focusing on content, and the word content is king. That phrase became kind of the rage, but um, it's really evolved over the years, and how people are consuming content, the types of content they're consuming is really changing. So with that, let's just jump into it. We'll go on that first slide, Matt. So the first kind of most important thing, both when developing your messaging and advertising and outreach strategy, as well as the content that you're producing, is who is the audience? Who are we talking to? Who are we trying to engage? And where are they? What kinds of content are they engaging with? What are the topics, things that they're searching for, both products and questions that they're asking about those types of products or solutions. What are they talking about with each other in communities on social media, and what are their feelings? How do they feel about the problem or the value, essentially, that your product, my product, is providing to them, the issue that it solves. When we do this, with any brand that we engage with, we spend about a month, almost the first month, really doing a very deep marketing analysis, in deep research, and really understanding the audience or audiences, within those demographics, and really getting into the psyche, the psychology of how are they talking about problems? How are competitors presenting themselves? What are people discussing in their reviews or in their social conversations, these community conversations? What are the trends in that industry, and how are people reacting to those trends, and discussing those? So it really takes a lot of effort and understanding about the different types of emotional responses and different types of emotions that are triggered, depending on the category that you're in, depending on the conversations that are being had. And so we take that very seriously, and take a lot of time in first understanding those people. And because if we don't understand them and what they're feeling, what they're going through, what they're looking for, what kinds of responses and emotions are they having when they have a positive response, or find a positive solution or product, then it's impossible to really create content that resonates with them. And what we see a lot of brands doing is just kind of pushing their own narrative, saying, hey, this is what we're about, or this is what our product is about. These are the features, these are the sales, these are whatever, and really pushing our own narrative on people. And we lose people quick when we do that, and they're very unlikely to come back and engage with you long term. So, what I want to do is just go through a couple of those tactics or things of like how we engage people, and what the value of that is. But this is where it all starts, is really understanding those people, and the people that we're interacting with, and getting a better feel for what do they care about, and what is going to resonate with them. You can jump to the next slide now. So starting with what are you doing now, a lot of companies are doing something. Maybe they're trying to just post some social content. Maybe you have a more robust strategy, and you're going after things. But when we pick through this, looking at an existing strategy or efforts that are being made, number one, we want to understand the goal, with the content. What are we trying to do, and how are we measuring if it's effective or not? So are we just trying to drive traffic, to our site? Are we trying to build a community that comes back regularly? And so defining those very specific measurable goals, what we're after, what we're trying to achieve, and setting timelines for those, when we will check those and measure if our efforts are effective or not, and that are relevant to our our overall goal, which is to grow our business or grow our audience, to grow our kind of overall value in the company. So we can measure who's seeing, who's reading, who's sharing the content. There are a lot of tools out there, such as SEMrush or Moz. There are, and it's important to, again, look at the people that are engaging and what are they saying. Are they resharing? Are they really engaging, or are they just views? If people are just viewing stuff but they're not actually responding or sharing or doing anything with that, that's not considered engagement. I don't think that's news to anyone. Headlines obviously is a very big thing whether it's ads or it's just organic content. The headline that draws them in, you think of any editorial that you engage in, or anything that you want to read, that compelling statement is made right away, immediately. So are we speaking to what they want? Are we speaking to the questions that they have? Are we speaking to the things that are kind of nagging at them in the back of their mind all the time? And we got to test a lot of different things to figure that out. Sometimes, even with all the research, we've got to test a few things. We can't just try the same thing over and over, especially if it's not working. Next, is the content that we're creating and is it really delivering value? And is it clear and concise, or a lot of times we see it's kind of all over the place, or again, I spoke about that sort of that narrative. We're just trying to keep hitting on the same points or the same things that we're trying to push and promote. But it's got to be things that are valuable, to the consumer. Like I said, what they're looking for. And when I say clear and concise, I mean, you all know you want to get to when you review anything online, you want to get to it quick. If a headline grabs your attention, you better be able to find that answer or the meat of that, what you're after, very quickly. And otherwise you're going to lose interest and bounce. And I experience all the time. There's nothing more frustrating, few things more frustrating than thinking that you're going down the right path and you're trying to find answers, and then you just keep going down this. You have to read through paragraph after paragraph after paragraph until you find what you're looking for. So that can be done with subheadings or visuals that really help them navigate to the answer that they're looking for. And this is just compounded by the fact that most of the users that we're targeting, these are spending their time, they're looking at things on their mobile device. So it's even harder to see, to scroll through page after page of things, or to try to find what you're looking for. So again, you got to deliver that quickly and deliver, and segment maybe those value points into places that are easy for them to find. Does the content convey, personality and emotion? And I think this is a really good, interesting point, because again, back to those features, if we're just talking about, features or some specific benefits that we want to point out, does our brand, does our content, really have a personality that's being conveyed in there, and a personality that connects with that audience? What emotions is that triggering? We've all familiar with some really great examples of this, like Red Bull and GoPro. I think some people who might be on here may even work with Neff Headwear, which is a lifestyle brand, and I was actually good friends with Sean Neff growing up, who founded that company, and was in his bedroom when he was ideating the idea of the brand and showing us, pictures of his name written in different fonts and how he was going to, launch this company. And he did a great job. I mean, he was the personality. He was in the lifestyle of the brand that he was creating, and he, connected directly with the people that he was targeting. So as he went out and to build his brand, he built it by living within that lifestyle, by enrolling other influencers, athletes specifically, that were in that lifestyle that the audience really followed and really connected with. And if you followed him, his engagement, even his social media, it's just very, he is authentic. He's authentic to that brand, and collaborates with people with similar likes, similar missions, and that content throughout the history of that brand has been very authentic and really resonated with the community that he was targeting. So again, Red Bull, GoPro, these are all brands that have done an incredible job of creating content that their audience just loves and eats up and feels very connected to. So personality, real personality, authentic personality, and emotion is key. One tactic that works really well to keep people engaged in content is having content that's actually interactive. Some people do this with calculators to calculate your, how many calories you're using, or a financial calculator, surveys that ask questions and will give you different responses. When a person can actually interact with a piece of content, obviously there's an opportunity for them to engage at a much higher level, and an opportunity for you to get get feedback and information from that as well. In addition to just written content, obviously video is huge. To say it's huge is an understatement. I think most of the time that people spend on social media and viewing content these days, especially on mobile, is video content. They're not just reading blogs. So you got to you need to turn those blogs into videos. You can turn them into infographics. You can turn them into things that capture people's sort of short attention span these days, into something that they're going to stay engaged with and keep consuming. And then social proof is another key aspect, I think, to engaging people. If they can sort of quickly see themselves as your community, or identify with your community, because you're displaying and showing people within your community that they identify with. So those video testimonials, it's one thing for you to talk about your brand, and it's, like I said before, very easy for us as brand owners to kind of drive that narrative or communicate kind of in one track mind of where we see the brand. But when a customer, when someone in the social sphere sort of is sharing their perspective and their experience with the brand, it's much more can be much more valuable with the audience and that community at large. So go ahead, and if we can go to the next one. This is a big shift that I've seen too. And we talk about sort of that narrative and always kind of pitching our agenda. Content has really become it's always been a source of entertainment, right? But in the digital platforms, it's become a lot more about that. And you see, obviously TikTok has kind of taken the world, created this storm of just nonstop content and engaging videos, and they're very short for the most part, but people are really engaged in them, and wanting to go through video after video and spending a ridiculous amount of time there too, I would say. But that's the key thing. One of the real key things I think about delivering content that people are going to engage in and do something with and come back to is got to be entertaining to them. And we could do that with telling stories, as opposed to just again a list of features or narrative. If we're actually telling stories, what is our background? How did we come up with this idea? How did it impact our life? Or we should share other stories of other people, how it impacted their life, or what that lifestyle is meant to them and how it's enabled them to just find more joy in that lifestyle. So that leads to in that kind of format where we're within stories, we're able to create more of a sense of empathy, really put ourselves and put the other people in our community in the shoes of others, so that they really feel connected. And then happy endings is just to say people love a good story. They love the story with a happy ending. And so again, when our brand or our product has an impact in people's lives and brings, whether it's fun or it's health or just relaxing or satisfaction or something, people love to consume that, to hear those stories, and are much more likely to participate and try it for themselves. And lastly, around that is talk about the quality versus quantity. And a lot of times when we're just trying to, we got to be doing something. Let's get content out there. Let's make sure we're posting, once a day or 10 times a week, or, whatever that number is, then, we're probably not taking the time to really make sure that those posts and that content that we're creating is actually quality. And that goes back to the, metrics. Are we measuring if they're, are people really engaged with it? Do they care? What's their sentiment? What are they saying about it? Because it doesn't behoove you. There's no point in just pumping out a bunch of content just to pump out content, because that lives there forever. It's out there, and consumers are pretty savvy when it comes to seeing through BS, or just kind of detecting authenticity and seeing are you really kind of in this lifestyle or part of this community, or are you just a poser, just trying to shove product down their throat? So that's key. Just take the time. It's better to produce half as much content that's higher quality, obviously, than just pumping out more content just for the sake of getting it out there. And then the real value of this is just it is lifetime. And I look at that in really two ways. There's lifetime value of a customer, when they keep coming back, and how often do they repurchase, and what is their lifetime value. And we look at that from a numbers perspective, monetary perspective. How much will I acquire a customer for? How much am I willing to spend on that based on how much return I'm going to get over time? But when we're looking at it in this context, I think it goes even deeper than that. We're talking about building a brand, building legacy, which in turn drives the value, the overall value of our company and of our base. But it's really about staying involved with them long term. And so an ad that we put up will just it's there when we pay for that click, and then it's gone. Organic content, or even earned media through PR channels, et cetera, or articles that you might publish, that lasts out there, on the internet forever. And so even if you're not seeing the immediate return, like you would with an ad, it's out there, and people may go back to it. They will share it. someone will find it later. Like that has value to your brand long beyond the day or the week or the month that it's posted or shared. And then that content, let me just say, engaging experiences, those are the things that promote loyalty to the brand. They increase the return frequency, the frequency people return to your brand. If you can create a space or a channel or information that people find value in, that want to come back regularly to, then you've won clearly. So, and realizing that this is really a playing the long game. If we want to get revenue quickly, measure something that we can say how many dollars did I make on this dollar that I spent, then that's for advertising, paid ads, paid placement. But investing in quality content creates a long-term asset for you. You're building a community. You're building a digital asset that again lasts long beyond the creation of it, far beyond that, but it also adds value to your brand, to your company, because you have that community, you have that audience that is engaged, and it is like a kind of captive audience that you can much easily market to in the future. So just a quick summary. I don't think a lot of times we don't take nearly enough time to really know and understand our community. We know our product very well. We know why we built it, why we created it, why we're selling it, what the problems that it addresses. And the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest thing to do is just to tell people why they should buy it and why it's good for them. But if we take the time to really understand our community, to listen to them, to engage with them, to learn from them, and to grow, then that has value far beyond anything that we're kind of regurgitating and pushing out there ourselves. Engage with an audience, with a community. I think we really need to speak with them. We need to start conversations and solicit feedback and respond to that feedback, and be willing to make changes and pivots and address issues, and create products for people or make adjustments to products for people. It's really this a conversation, a two-way conversation, and not just, again, us pushing the product and pushing, this is the way it should be. It's the best way it's ever going to be. And just kind of speaking at people, because we'll never really grow a long-lasting community that way. And then entertain them, give them a reason to come back. There's got to find value when they're consuming your content, and if they do, then they'll come back again. They'll look for it when you post again. They'll follow you. They'll share that. They'll come back to be entertained, what have you. But look at it through those eyes when creating quality. Higher quality is we want to get them to come back again. Give them that reason, and all of these things is ultimately going to build the value, higher value in your brand. It adds value to a valuation of your company. If you've got a highly engaged audience and a large audience, if you've got higher rate of repeat purchase, and this you can certainly accomplish with real quality content, and with all of those things together, you're going to create a more valuable brand. You're going to create higher revenue, and you're going to create just if you decide to exit that company someday, it's definitely going to be worth more. So I can't say enough about sort of how important it is to just really be authentic and draw that connection. Simon Sinek has a real famous or popular talk on TED Talk, where he talked about start with why, and it's really about kind of why you did this and why your customer cares, and what they care. And if you can connect those two things, then you have a win. You really can get those people to engage with and actually love your brand. If not, then it's really just another, maybe a temporary Band-Aid, or it's just noise that's out there with all the competitors.